Hey, welcome to Fins Talk Overtime on the Fins Talk Network. I'm your host, Bobby Melendez, and I am joined by four dudes right here. Brett Lagasse, as always, on Overtime. Neil, and you got Mr. Juan, third one, and he is Fin Fanatic columnist. Guys, first off, thanks for joining me. Brett, first to you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm actually really good because I was early today. I beat everybody here, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Made me look bad. All right, I hear you.
That's fair.
Neil, how about you, man? How you doing?
Hanging in there, man. Just got back from work, and just ready to dive into some fins, baby.
Let's go. And Mr. Juan, what's up, brother?
Oh, chilling, man. Same as Neil, just pretty much logged off work and said, let me go hop in with the boys and discuss what's been going on with the Dolphins recently.
Maybe
That's
stir
right.
the pot a little bit while we're at it.
Let's stir that pot. That's all right.
I don't stir the pot. I would say I give pretty fair analysis. If anything, I'm a little. Sometimes I take my heart out of it, and I just I'm pretty raw with my takes. But sometimes you gotta say what you gotta say, man.
Amen, brother.
100%. That's how we do it here at the Fins Talk Network. What's up, Evan? Everyone who's joining us, obviously, if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at the Fins Talk Network. Got a lot of great content, not only Dolphins, but now Miami Heat with these two gentlemen right below. We got the Goon Squad, which is on every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time with Juan, myself, Neil, Harrison, and Alex. It was a very fun episode last week. I was already looking forward to the next
in
one.
the Goon Squad. It gets spicy.
It gets a little bit spicy. You got to get some Pepto-Bismol after. But, all right, so let's first start off. We have a whole lineup here that we're going to discuss. It was me and Brett, but Juan messaged me earlier today, and he's like, "Hey, Bobby, I need to get on one of the Fin Talks shows. I want to discuss this Tyreek Hill comments about Tua and Pat Mahomes." So I know you wrote an article about this one on your site there. You're a contributor for the Fin Fanatic. So why don't you fill us in and give us your thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, so when Tyreek got traded to the team, obviously all of us were pretty hyped, We haven't had a superstar wide receiver in I don't know how long, at least not in my lifetime. I haven't seen it. But yeah, I was pretty hyped about it. I really like how the team has embraced the quarterback, has embraced the coach, and it's just like a new culture evolving. But the problem I started to have, and it was pretty early on, but I decided not to speak on it early just because I didn't want to jump the gun. But every time Tyreek Hill brings up anything Miami, he compares it back to Kansas City. He talks about Tua, he compares it back to Mahomes. Since the day he got here, it's just like, oh yeah, like comparing arm strength, comparing everything, right? Then he's comparing McDaniel and Andy Reid. Then he's comparing the teams overall. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm a Dolphins fan. Like, I'm hype you're here. Like, we all enjoy how salty Chiefs fans get in his comments, but it's like, come on, like you won a Super Bowl there, and I'm all for the compliments. I'm all for the love for Miami and for the Dolphins and for the players, but I don't like it when it's only used as like a way to backhand Kansas City. So it doesn't feel genuine. It only feels like, oh, I'm only doing this for me to get back at them. And with the rest of the team, it doesn't seem that way because the rest of the team is hyping the players up or hyping Tua up. And they're just Miami Dolphins mode. Like, they're not bringing up anything from the past or their past. And, it kind of bothers me that the way Tyreek is going about his compliments is a little disingenuous. And he's creating a podcast and all this. And at the end of the day, I wrote an article about it today. It makes it seem like he's the bitter ex because he's doing all the things that would pretty much qualify him into this. Like, all right, you left for an upgrade, and all you do is post about it. Oh my God, like this is so good. Like this is so much better than what I had last time. It's like at first I'm like, go off, Tyreek. But then it's like, all right, everything's compared back to this. And what I wrote in the article is like, imagine you kick it off with someone and it goes great, right? You guys go on a date. And every time she compliments you, it's like comparing it back to her ex. It's like, oh, it's like, I used to hate how he does this, but you do this and this so much better. I'm like, damn. I'm like, why? So if it's so much better over here. The grass is so much greener on this side. Why don't you just, let go of the past? Stop talking about it. Like at first, it's like, all right, whatever. Then you're like, you let them know. It's like, yo, you're kind of bringing this up a lot. And then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, this every time you're bringing up your new situation, you find a way to bring it back to the old situation. And, it just makes it seem like he's the bitter ex. It makes it seem like he's just saying this to backhand Kansas City. And it makes me think that he doesn't even believe what he's saying, and that his authenticity and transparency has been like heavily affected by the 30 million per dollar, 30 million, 30 million he's getting per year. But yeah, it makes it seem like sometimes he's a walking advertisement, apart from like just complimenting the team. What do you guys think?
Well, I'll say this. I think it's all great points, really, and I get it from where you're coming from. Evan's writing that Tyreek Hill is a diva, so was Terrell Owens and Randy Moss, part of having an elite wide receiver. I will say this. To me, my
Still
initial
want them on my team.
No, absolutely. I think that was Evan's point too. It's it's what you have to deal with. But my initial impression of it was I think he's he's doing his best. First of all, I don't know if he's trying to make himself believe that he has a better situation now than he did in Kansas City. But also, I think it's a part of trying to help, maybe make his young quarterback feel good. Maybe give Tua the impression that, hey, you know what? I'm maybe a top tier wide receiver in the NFL, and I'm actually happy that you're my quarterback, despite what other people may be saying. That was my initial impression of it. I like what you're saying. It makes sense. And it's true. I agree with you. We don't, every time you bring up something about you don't have to bring up the Chiefs. If you have something saying about the Dolphins, about Tua or Coach McDaniel or whatever, you don't have to bring up Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Let that go and move forward. What's up, Ralph and Steve? Brett, what's your response to what Juan has to say?
Well, Juan brings up good points. I mean, a lot of guys will say, well, that was in the past. I'm focused on the Dolphins now, or whatever, and sometimes they'll compare things like anybody who comes from a winning organization and goes to a team that's trying to find a way of winning, they're always asked about their former team and how they won before. That's a different situation when they're asked about it. But you're right, he does bring it up a lot. Now, I do know it's a lot of questions. He's been thrown a lot of questions, like going from Mahomes to Tua. And he's trying to get people to buy into a stock. Like, hey, yeah, look, I'm going to be the same quarterback. Now, it keeps comparing the Tua and Mahomes situation because it's the most recent. But if Mahomes really wants to shut critics up of how he's going to do with Tua, he should just say, well, I crush it with Alex Smith. But then you don't want to slight Alex Smith either, though. But, and you don't want to slight Mahomes if you're still friends with him. So you don't want to be like, oh, well, I was crushing before Mahomes and I was crushing with just Alex Smith. He could just say, like I've had success in this league with multiple different quarterbacks, with Smith and with Mahomes, but he does always kind of revert back. And then he kind of reverted it back to with Andy Reid, almost seeming like, what did he say? If he had to leave, it was like, no, you can't. But with McDaniel, he can. He's got that freedom. I got a slight issue with though, a slight concern. Does that mean McDaniel's too loose, too much of one of the guys? Is he too?
You brought that up last week when Coach Westhoff was saying something about Mr. Positivity. He said something about that.
Like, if it's great until it's not. So, like, can he? Like, is that going to be a problem? So I hope not. But we'll see what happens. But I like the fact that he's willing to work with players too, though, because that goes a long way. And maybe it sucked playing for Reed. But then again, sometimes sucking is how you win. Like, embrace the suck, as we used to say in the Air Force. Just embrace that suck. But like, look, people say like it's not fun to play for New England, but they win all the time. So I guess you got to take the good with the bad. Was it Reggie Wayne retired after playing with New England? He signed with them for like a month and it was done. He said it's not fun here. So I mean, but he came from a winning culture. So I mean, he's going to be asked about his time in Kansas City because every year in Kansas City, he's been successful. The team has been successful. So he's going to be asked about that compared to how the Dolphins are. But one key thing I will say, Rosenhaus had mentioned that the team is building around Hill, not Tua, Hill, which means he's going to be a focal point of the offense, not Tua, which also means that if Tua fails, they're going to listen to Tyreek about who the next quarterback should be, and that guy might just be around the corner for me in Baltimore.
So, Brett, you make a really
man. Yeah, there it is, Neil, right there. He's a stern ass.
I'm just saying.
Come on, man. It's like I had to throw it. Neil, what are you thinking, man?
Man, both Brett and Juan made really excellent points. And even Evan over here in the comments talking about no such thing as bad publicity. And one thing I got to say about that is, there is no such thing as bad publicity unless you don't capitalize on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the one fear that I have. I generally don't like us being in the news for things other than on-field success. Because in the past, anytime we've been in the news for anything other than on-field success, it's been massively negative.
Drama.
And massive drama. And like right now,
Tank for two to show
that's
what's
right. Tyreek's
oh
going to
my
be asked these questions. He's got to answer them. What's he going to say? Like, and look, Tyreek Hill, okay, is not, the pro's pro either, okay? Let's be honest, right? He is going to be himself when he's asked these questions, and just trying to put a brand out there. I don't necessarily really like that he's got this podcast, but the guy's trying to get out there and make some money out there, whatever, fine. Let's just hope, it doesn't get crazy, because it could. But
it seems like they'll give anybody a podcast these days.
Oh, yeah. I'm just hoping that this stuff leads to some success, right? Like maybe, Bobby's right. This is maybe Tyreek saying, let me prop up Tua, and this is the only way that I know how. Okay, fine. If that's true, cool. But it could also be that Juan's right. He's got his mind still on Kansas City. He's still thinking about that other girl, and his mind's really not on the current one. You know what I mean? Or he's only with the current one despite the other one. I would hate that if it were true, So, I mean, I do think we need a little bit more time. Like, again, he just started his podcast. He's been asked the first wave of these questions. This will probably die down in a week. We won't even be talking about this anymore, hopefully, a week from now. Things move pretty fast in sports media. But it's all going to come down to how productive is Tyreek Hill going to be week one? Or even sooner than that. Let's see how he does in camp. Let's see how he does in preparation for meaningless preseason games. I mean, if some stories come out that he's lazy and he's not showing up, because I agree with Brett about that. Like when he said, I like McDaniel because he doesn't care if I'm there or not, essentially, I was kind of like, hold on a second here, I know it wasn't fun to play for New England, but it was fun to be a fan of New England, I'm sure. It hasn't been fun being a Dolphins fan recently. I want to have some fun too. I want Tyreek to be productive. I don't hate that we're building around Tyreek Hill. If Tua doesn't show us that he can be a franchise quarterback, let's get Lamar Jackson and let's capitalize on the really good talent that this team has accumulated on offense and defense. But Tyreek Hill has become the face of this franchise this offseason. Yeah. That is true. He is the face of this franchise.
And I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're fine. And he really – and I think he can be up for the challenge, but he's going to have to prove that. And that's a big responsibility.
Well, when he said that they don't care if he's there, it's more of like if he has like something that he has to do with family, whatever, something along those lines. Like he has something that's going on outside of football. Like we all have that in doctor's appointments, whatever. So, like, that's what he means. Like, he has something he needs to take care of outside of football because, to be honest, they're all humans. They all have their family. So, they got to take care of stuff. And, I guess they would give him a hard time about leaving. Like, hey, coach, I need to split this or I need to skip this meeting, whatever. And they gave him a hard time. You're right. He's not the most, like, your typical professional athlete. You know what I mean? Like, you got guys who are just pretty blunt and they just are who they are. They're not like this business professional style athlete. You know what I mean? They're just the same person they were before they got drafted. Now they're just an NFL player. So I think like Tyreek's just being honest. And as a concern, is it major concern? No. If he falls flat, then it's like, holy shit, why? He was focused solely on the Chiefs but Evan brought up Randy Moss, Terrell Owens. It's a good point, especially Terrell Owens. He was always motivated to show everybody they were wrong about him. And I think Tyreek has that killer instinct. He has that, I'm going to ball out, and I'm going to show the world I don't need Patrick Mahomes. I think some of that is what it is, because some people I still think hang on to Patrick Mahomes made Tyreek Hill. But if you see it, Tyreek Hill was already Tyreek Hill, but when Mahomes got there, it just amplified it because he's so good. It just gave a good weapon, a good quarterback. So I think he's just motivated to show everybody I don't need Patrick Mahomes to be Tyreek Hill, to be the superstar you guys know. I just think, because like Devontae Adams, who's even sleeping on that right now? And then he makes comments about Derek Carr being like Aaron Rodgers, which some of that is factful, but let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. But no one's talking about, Devontae Adams, like, how's he going to do with Carr? Well, fine, because Derek Carr's a good quarterback and Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. With or without Rodgers, he's still a damn good receiver. So I think I do agree with Juan. It's a concern, and it's a very valid concern. If you haven't read the article, read it. It's always well written. It's a good article, but like it is something to think about. And there's always sunshine and rainbows, but there's always another way to look at things.
And all this talk about girlfriends and ex-boyfriends, everything. We're going to have our new show called Heartbreakers here on the network, starring Juan and Neil. That will be on Thursday nights.
Might as well put me on that one. Coming at you with the hard facts too.
That's right. We're gonna come hard. We know nothing's off.
Hold on, Evan.
Overtime.
Cheetah just went live on his Instagram talking about his podcast.
Uh-oh.
You can't make this stuff up.
All right, so this is another. So this topic here, and then another one I actually wrote today, and I had a note for me and Brett to talk about. But since we got our little round table here, I'm gonna open it up here with this too. And I'll start with Juan, since Juan's been sitting there and taking this all in. The Miami Herald reported that the Dolphins were ready to offer former Saints head coach, Super Bowl champion Sean Payton, a 5-year, $100 million contract, of course, before the lawsuit, and they were ready to offer him. What's your thoughts on that? Would you have liked that compared to getting McDaniel?
Would I prefer it? Would you rather prefer what's proven or the upside? I'd rather go with what's proven. To be honest, getting Sean Payton, he's an all-timer, probably going to go down in the Hall of Fame, Super Bowl champion. So, not really anything else to add to that. Like, you know what you're getting when you get Sean Payton. I know that story's been brewing for a while connected to Brady. But to be honest, I think there's more to chew on the Brady's situation than this. Just because with the Saints, I think he was still under contract. So at least with Brady, let's say he was still Brady was still on contract with the Bucs too. But if he wanted to come here as an owner, he wouldn't have to. His player contract wouldn't affect any of his business dealings if he wanted to come to Miami as part owner. If he wanted to do that. And then the possibility of a trade is in place. But with a coach, can you trade for a coach? Kind of, yeah. But, when was the last time we saw that?
I think.
John Gruden.
To the Raiders, we saw how that ended. But yeah, dude, like, I just think I don't think there's much to chew on there because Peyton was pretty burnt out. And the last thing, you look at the Miami Dolphins, how they looked in January, post Brian Flores, and then, after the lawsuit, you're looking at rock bottom. You're looking at rock bottom, no coach, unproven quarterback. The offensive line is a complete disaster. The offense as a whole is a disaster. Now you don't have the same defensive coach. We'll see how that turns out now. But we kept a lot of the pieces. So, you're going to offer Sean Payton that, who's going to take it? I don't think he would take it. But would I prefer it over McDaniel? Hell yeah. Especially with some of the comments that are coming out now. Brett, I actually didn't get a hold of that Tyreek said he prefers McDaniel over
Juan's next article.
No, I mean,
I
dude,
don't think he said he prefers McDaniel over
but-
Reed. He
but,
just
like,
it's like a
yeah,
breath of fresh
we're-
air
we're
for him.
bringing
though.
up, and we're bringing up the Patriots. Last time I checked, dude, like the Patriots were getting compared to the Chiefs as far as extremes go. One being really military style and one being really fun, because Andy Reid gives you that freedom, and he got 159 targets last year, which ranks 7th in the NFL and ranks first on his team, and clears by the number 2, which is Travis Kelce, another top tier talent. He clears Kelce by 25 targets. So, like it's hard to argue that. But going back to Sean Payton, no, I don't think there's much there. I think people are just writing that for clickbait. I think there's much more to chew on when it comes to the Brady situation.
I agree with that. And the thing is, and Evan brought up that point, and that was actually my prediction when Peyton left the Saints or resigned, retired, whatever you want to call it, is that he's going to be the next Cowboys coach eventually when they decide to fire Mike McCarthy. I think the Dolphins were maybe they did probably put feelers out there. They wanted to make a splash to make everybody happy, and probably got denied by Peyton. But I think Peyton will be eventually the Cowboys head coach. Neil, same with you. I mean, with this story getting released by the Miami Herald, I agree with Juan. I think there's more truth. I mean, I think if one or the other was going to happen, it's going to be Tom Brady up more than Sean Payton. But the idea of Sean Payton as the Dolphins head coach, more than likely having control over football operations, I would think that would have to be in play. Especially, I mean, $20 million a year is crazy for 5 years, but you get what you're paying for. What do you think about that? I mean, would you have preferred that over a McDaniel?
Yes. I think any fan who is upset by this news, really needs to sit down and try to understand that that's exactly what this organization should be trying to do. We should be trying to go after great head coaches or front office personnel or, quarterbacks, I guess, in the sense of Tom Brady like that. I mean, I love that our front office was trying to do something like that. It's something that our front office had never tried to do, since I've been a fan. So I was excited when I saw that we tried to get Sean Payton. I'm a little sad that we couldn't. It's probably because of the lawsuit and all the drama that surrounded us, and that's also our front office's fault. No shocker there, I mean, pretty good about doing that. But no, it's a good thing. And I hope that they continue to try to make moves like that. I really do. And I'm excited to see what other big splash options they're considering. I mean, the Tyreek Hill thing, this free agency was really good. I mean, this news just means that it could have just been way better had we not had a lawsuit and all this drama, and maybe if our front office hadn't had a reputation of just sucking. I don't know. Because if I'm Sean Payton, I mean, at the time, he was offered it, I don't know if I would have wanted to come here. I mean, right?
That's fair. That's fair. What do you think, Brett?
Well, I would have preferred Sean Payton, and he would have been Miami's coach. The lawsuit happened. He retired for a reason. He's not ready to step away from football. Not my opinion. He was not committal about doing anything, TV, whatever. Although he looked at it, that'd be a nice paycheck. And he saw Gruden stepped back in. So Sean Payton's a proven commodity. Same thing I say about talent. I'll take proven over unproven. No coach in NFL history has won Super Bowls with multiple different teams. Not one coach. True. First time for everything. Only a handful of quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl with multiple teams. Ironically, we've seen two of the most recent with Manning and Brady. But the other side of it was the plan was to get Tom Brady as part owner or own stake in the team, play quarterback, and then Sean Payton be the head coach. For you Heat fans, I want you to think about something. Look at the structure of the Heat. What makes the Heat so good?
Yeah,
it's not just Spoelstra, right? Pat Riley is the one head dog in charge, right? He was a coach for a long time. He's been the president of the team since he was the coach, really. He's one that helps build the team, builds a culture. Spoelstra's a part of that, and they work really well together. Sean Payton wasn't just going to be a head coach. He was going to be running things.
That's right.
They both come from Chris Greer and him both come from a Parcells tree. Very good chance that Chris Greer would have been just maintained and kind of the role he's kind of in now, or before Flores. He has no problem working with other people. So Peyton would have been kind of calling the shots. He would have been the personnel guy. He would have been the head coach guy. He would have been the one that said, hey, yeah, Tua is worth working with, or let's move on. Give me Brady, or hey, let's develop Tua behind Brady, something. He would have been the guy calling the shots there. And he would have been given the choice of who he gets at quarterback. And then I look at a guy that I wanted, Joe Brady, who was LSU's offensive coordinator with Joe Burrow, who coached under Sean Payton, who learned that system, who's a bright upcoming coach, could have been our offensive coordinator under Sean Payton, maybe even a future head coach in 3 or 4 years where Payton takes a step back from coaching and runs the front office. Joe Brady becomes a head coach. So it sucks because we missed out on more than just a head coach. We missed out on the opportunity to have a guy that's calling the shots, our football czar, a real one that's been active recently, and someone who understands things. Also, keep in mind, Bill Parcells and Stephen Ross are still friends. They still communicate. They're not tight, but they still communicate. And Parcells and Peyton are really close. So that all ties.
I was going to say, I'm happy you brought that up because I was going to say that's, the Miami Heat, you Mickey Harrison's very involved owner, first of all, but Pat Riley, Andy Ellisberg, Eric Spoelstra, that front office, and it's been there like that for obviously decades now.
But it all really starts with Riley just being like
absolutely. But that's why I was,
you know what I mean?
I was happy when they brought in Bill Parcells because he was just fresh off retirement too from the Cowboys. When they brought in Bill Parcells, who was the team president, and he brought in his coach and and everything else. I like that formula. I prefer that as well. So I and I'm going to say this. I'm going to ask you and so we can move on. But how can I say this? Is this really dead? If let's say McDaniel, which I don't think will, but it is what it is. But if he falls face flat this season, can this story resurrect by the end of the year?
For sure. Season? Tua started to struggle, and the Watson rumors got louder and louder and louder. So if McDaniel slips up or has a bad season, that talk will get louder and louder because they fired a winning coach, right? Their window to win is not all that big. They got all this money spent to win now. The way their team is set up is to win now. I don't think McDaniel does fall flat, but it could happen. I also think Sean Payton could be interested in a role, possibly working with the team still. It's a possibility.
Could happen. Again,
Dallas is a better possibility for him, though.
Exactly. If he wants to continue coaching.
I got a better question for you. What if McDaniel has a good season, makes the playoffs, gets, the Dolphins lose in typical playoff fashion. They get destroyed.
Oh, God.
And then Peyton in the offseason comes out and he's like, you know what? I want to coach Miami. What do you say?
Coach Miami.
Coach because he doesn't get destroyed in playoffs.
So, At what point do you prefer McDaniel over Peyton? Do you have is a playoff win enough for you to be like, I'll stick with my guy?
Yes.
One playoff.
A playoff for me, Brett, before you start, for me, and I've said this before to Brett, if he makes I know people go, if he makes the playoffs, we're happy. No, he has to make the playoffs and win a game in the playoffs for me to say he had a successful season.
Right. Or
Tony Sperano. Yeah, Tony Sperano. Exactly. Tony Sperano and Gase. Adam Gase. They went to the playoffs and they lost, and like you said, in typical Miami fashion, because that's what we've been used to. It can't be that. Now, if they lose and they were putting up a hell of a fight and they had a good year, that's a different story. But if they go in and they get smashed and it's the same old Dolphins and someone like Sean Payton comes around and says, hey, I'm interested in coaching Miami, you go get Sean Payton. You give him the money he wants. I'm sorry, Brett, go ahead.
Oh, no. So I want to address a comment right here from John that saying Parcells is a disaster.
What's up, John?
It was exactly a disaster. But thank you for the comment. I don't think it was a disaster, more of a disappointment because they didn't see things through and then taking Jake Long over Matt Ryan. I still think the way they built the team outside of Jake Long, swap Jake Long for Matt Ryan, the way they built the team, I think they were actually a competitive team. But it still wasn't explosive enough or anything. But, it wasn't a disaster like Adam Gase was or Joe Philbin were.
No.
But I mean, Peyton, I think, would be better.
You know, it would be hard for me. If let's say McDaniel is competitive in a playoff game or wins one, and then we lose in the next round, and Peyton's like, oh, I'd definitely come and coach the Dolphins. I think I'm taking Sean Payton. I'm not going to lie. Maybe that's unpopular. But, I mean, I think Sean Payton brings a lot more than just on-field success. I think I would let McDaniel go if Payton was a sure thing, even if McDaniel succeeded like that. I think I would.
This would be a really interesting argument on Dolphins Twitter because Dolphins fans are really, really diehard loyal. And then when they stick with their guy, it's like
that's true. They are.
Guy. So, I mean, I think that you bring that up. I think a lot of Dolphins fans, if McDaniel even gets to the playoffs or has a winning
season, stick by him. I mean, they're a fiercely loyal bunch.
They would tell you, no, I'm sticking with my guy. Sean Payton is retired and washed, and the last time he was 2009. McDaniel is so close. He had a winning.
Yep.
And next year he'll come back strong. So
that's exactly what they would.
You're 100% right. 100%
never guarantee. That's the problem. Is let's say McDaniel is a good year.
But you know, Sean Payton is the answer. Like you would know that's the for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh. That's such an interesting area. Evan writes, swap Dante Culpepper for Drew Brees. Yeah, that would have been different. So, all right. Let's go ahead and move on now to actually what was addressed. Before we do, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but 2 words. Jimmy Johnson ran out on us. Yeah, he did. But he's also got you, Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor, and, you know, they did make the playoffs. And won in the playoffs, and that was Dave Wanstead after Jimmy Johnson. Now, very quick, before I continue, obviously, if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at the Finns Talk Network. And also, I mean, look at that big, glorious beard on Brett and this nice one here, nice comb one on me. If you guys got a beard or you know someone who does, obviously, Juan and Neil, if you guys know someone with a beard, I know you guys are trying. That's okay. Just rub it out.
I don't know if it's not just trying anymore. I think I'm too old to try.
But what's cool is that we have partnered up with Fable Beard Company. In this description of the episode below on YouTube, you will see the link and the code. If you know they got beard shampoo, oils, beard butter. I mean, I use these products; they're amazing. I mean, my beard hasn't felt any better. My face in general. And I actually get compliments, which is, you know, I've never had that really, except that I could actually grow the beard. That was the big compliment once in a day. Not like Brett, obviously. But listen, hit that link below. Try it out. They got great prices. And also, if you put the link, put the code FinnsTalk15, put our code in there, get an extra 15% off. Definitely worth it. So definitely check it out. Hit that link below and put in that code. Evan, were you combing your beard and that is why you were late? It's exactly what it was. First of all, I wasn't really. I came about 2 minutes before the show started. Evan, we were waiting on other people, but nice try. All right, so let's go on, and we're going to discuss first off. Let's talk about the Dolphins. They're not done signing people. They signed linebacker, former Cleveland Brown linebacker Porter Gustin. 6'5", 257 pounds, played for the Cleveland Browns last year. He went on off the practice squad, and then he got cut. But played 26 games and 4 starts with the Browns in the past 3 seasons. He signed, you know, I believe he's undrafted free agent. Let's see here. You know, in 2 fumble recoveries, 30 tackles, played 14 games, 3 starts, 1 in 2019 and last season. Brad, I'm going to start with you, then Neil, and then Juan. What do you think of this signing? How does it help Miami? Maybe special teams more than anything.
It's another special team signing. It's depth at linebacker, but mainly special teams competition. Not really sure if he's really going to make the team, but I like bringing in guys at this point, quality guys that might, you know, that have special teams experience. I like having those guys on the roster with a little bit of playing time experience. Those guys are valuable in their own way. So it's really hard to like. It's not like an exciting move, but these help. You know, you got that young rookie we drafted to play linebacker from Cal, and
Cameron Good.
Yeah, Cameron Good. Sorry, his name was blanking me.
You're good.
He's basically like the same kind of thing as him, but Good's a project, and they can put him as a protected practice squad player if they want to, and have Gustin, kind of take his role in special teams. So, I mean, it's a nice camp body. I mean, I'm not really like looking for him to make this big splash, but I like bringing in guys at this point, competition, and not wearing your guys down in camp, not getting your guys beat up in camp. Special teams is rough, especially like what he plays in special teams. It's physical. You're constantly trying to like make the team and get on the coach's good side. Like you're trying to make plays, and those guys go down quick. They're hard on themselves. So you'd hate to see injuries go, then you're scrambling to sign somebody. So I like bringing bodies in this time of year. Just keeps depth, keeps competition flowing. But it also makes you wonder where Cameron Good is, because they're the same kind of player. Where's his progression at right now? Like, how's he doing? Is he kind of like, we got to see him in camp. He's going to be a little bit more work than we expected. We're going to go ahead and get somebody with a little bit more playing experience at special teams, what we're looking to get out of him right now, which is probably the case. It's not a knock on him, just like, he's probably not ready, that he's going to need competition, and we're going to maybe put him in a practice squad, develop him later. That's it.
Neil, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Bret said. It's a camp body. It's someone there to provide depth, which is what we need, especially at linebacker. I mean, those who think that, Channing Tindall is, going to be this massive help on our defense this year, you guys might want to chill on that. I mean, he's going to take a year, maybe a year and a half to really come into his own, and become a huge part of this defense. I mean, I think eventually he has the potential to be, but this year it's going to be his first year, and so our linebacking group still needs work. I mean, it wasn't perfect last year. It's not going to be perfect this year. So bringing people in to compete, see what we've got, is always a good thing. I wouldn't expect this guy to be anything massively special. I would hope for him to be, but I wouldn't expect it. And who knows if he even makes the team, to be honest. But Bret's right. Injuries happen. You need depth. And, we're pretty thin at linebacker still, so might as well have some depth there to kind of help out. I mean, it doesn't hurt us, but I wouldn't say this is like that.
And Evan, that's my daughter crying. She didn't want to get out of the bath. I have a comment, but I'm going to keep that to myself.
Juan, what do you think about this signing?
Yeah, I mean, these guys were right on. It's a depth signing. I know Neil, Channing Tindall, you might not think he might be a big impact the first year. He might not be, but he could be a specialist. The kryptonite for this team is heavily the running quarterback. And if you watch his college tape, you can see that he can really chase after the sideline after these running backs. And, running backs in college, they're the freshest they are. They're running the fastest they are. So with a lot of these running quarterbacks, I think he could really provide a help with that. As far as coverage and that goes, I don't expect him to develop that until later years, like you said. But at least in a specialist role, I think he could have an impact. But maybe adding on to what you guys said, apart from just bringing in an extra body, you want to bring competition. Bret made a really good point that you don't know where Cameron Good is at, what his progress is at. A lot of times you want to sign someone like this when you have the space to put that pressure on and see if these players start performing at a higher level. And then you never know. Sometimes you bring him, you keep him in the practice squad at linebacker. We're not the deepest team, and we can get pretty thin pretty quick. You never know when you'll need an extra linebacker.
That's very true too, because if you look at the way our linebacker core is set up, it's kind of niche in a sense. So we're really thin at edge still. Even though we got Melvin Ingram, the edge position is still pretty thin, and you can't rely on Melvin Ingram and Van Ginkel and Phillips to all play special teams. So, that's why I like this. Like, get depth behind them, and then usually experienced guys. Like, there's so much to know on special teams that people don't realize. So many disciplines you have to know: lane discipline, so many different rules of when do you release, when do you pinch, when do you spread out. So a guy who just understands it and gets it right away, that it's not a problem until it is. It's one of my favorite sayings. Like people don't pay attention to special teams, how important it is until it's an issue. Until you're giving up chunks and punt returns. You're giving up a lot of kickoff return yards, which doesn't really happen anymore. But, or block punts, miss field goals. Special teams isn't a problem until you take those things for granted. So it's nice bringing in guys that are wanting to prove themselves, and that goes a long way in camp. I love that the guys are coming in ready to fight, which I have noticed that they do like signing guys like that, guys that have a little chip on their shoulder.
John Santos sent in a comment there. Does Skyler Thompson get cut?
No, I think they like him.
We cut.
I think they like. I've been hearing some
quarterback for him.
Yeah, they cut the kid that we got that was a CFL. Steve Trevler.
Yeah,
the one that played for Arizona.
Okay. That's right. CFL. That's right.
I was actually excited about that kid. Just because he's fun. He kind of reminds you of like a mini Fitzpatrick.
I was reading that Skyler Thompson's been playing pretty good for them. They've been happy with him.
Yeah.
So I think he sticks on the roster somehow. Evan says, Bobby, you are keeping me from Brett. LOL. Much love, man. You know what, Evan? I'm thinking, how about next Monday, 7:30 Eastern time? You come on overtime. We'll have Brett versus Evan, and it'll be on Tua. I'll put it all out. We'll have a friendly fire segment. We'll have a friendly fire segment between Dolphin fans. Anti-Tua, pro-Tua, even though I think Brett's more on the team. But you know what? That's right. No more. We're going to have Evan. If Evan's free Monday night, he'll let me know either now or later. He has my number. And we'll have Brett versus Evan next week.
Dude, I'm totally pro-Tua.
I smell bullshit. I'm just
after the Panthers game last year, I remember Brett, he switched his Avi, and then he had put the little cross marks and a flower.
I forgot it did that, and every time I criticize Tua, I'm like, Brett's hard to take it serious.
I'm gonna keep this on until we lose and we want a little win streak.
Once the win streak is over, at that point, I love that Abby, and I'm like, shit, I actually don't want to get rid of it. This is kind of cool.
Oh, that's funny. And now, so moving on to more talk, which was actually going to be the main one here, is Rick Spielman, former Dolphins and Vikings general manager, had said some stuff about the Dolphins. He predicted, with an interview with Pro Football Focus, he predicted that the Dolphins will have a Bengal-like rise next season. So like what the Bengals did from being last to first and obviously playing in the Super Bowl, he believes they have the potential to be for the Dolphins to be like the Bengals last year. He went on to say they got a really good defense. The Xavier Howard contract dilemma is done, so that should be a non-factor. I think Holland is going to be a young rising potential Pro Bowl type talent at the safety position. And then what they did on offense would get Tyreek Hill and Cedric Wilson, and they got a Pro Bowl tight end, pass catching tight end, and Mike Gesicki. They also helped the offensive line by signing Connor Williams from Dallas and going to get Armstead from New Orleans to solidify the left tackle position. Then they got a whole different type of running backs. It's McDaniel's first year as head coach, but if he could do what he did in San Francisco with the run game, that takes a lot of pressure off Tua. And then I think you just have to ask yourself, does Tua have more upside or more potential than Garoppolo? And what McDaniel, did with Garoppolo, and if he can elevate his game because of Garoppolo got them to the NFC Championship, but then they had a good offensive line, really good running game. That's why I'm excited to see what they will do with Tyreek Hill, with some of these weapons in the running back room, how people and rise up through it. I think this type of offense, and everybody saw the talent they had at Alabama, it's just a matter of him growing into the position, talking about Tua now, into that position in the NFL level. I think Mike McDaniel will do a great job as far as getting him to get the ball out of his hands, to make quick decisions, to get into a rhythm, because I think that he's pretty good if he can get the run game going. He can get rhythm. So Juan, I'll start with you, and then Neil, and then Brett. What are your thoughts on Rick Spielman's comments, and do you think the Dolphins have the potential to have a Bengal-like type season this coming season?
Yeah, so those comments are really interesting, and with with hot take culture rising, I feel like there's a lot more of these like hyperbole comparisons. You've seen like the next Bengals. I know some other. I don't know if it was an analyst or another executive that said the Jets were set up the same way, and I'm pretty sure it's been said about other teams. I know when Josh Allen made his leap, everybody was trying to say that their mid-tier quarterback with a little bit of athleticism was going to be the next Josh Allen, looking at like the Daniel Jones of the world. Justin Fields is getting that a lot now. And, when was the last time a team went besides the Bengals, when was the last time a team went like 3-14 and then went to the Super Bowl the next year? The reason that Bengals season is going to get remembered for so long is because it's so rare. And just after it happens, people just running to see, it's like this is going to be the next that. It's just hyperbole comparisons, and I don't know. I just if it happens, it happens, but I just don't see it because it's McDaniel's first year. It's one thing he didn't know how to work the offense really well with the 49ers, but one thing he didn't really deal head on with the 49ers was extreme adversity, which, if you're a Dolphins fan, that extreme adversity is something that this team is very familiar with. And it's what has crashed a lot of these previous coaches, apart from their incompetence. It's crashed a lot of these coaches into the ground and, set them off as failures when they leave this place. So that's really what's going to make the difference for McDaniel, because I know we spoke about it a couple episodes ago, but this team could easily start 1-3, 2-4 before they get going. I know a lot of Dolphins fans now resent Brian Flores, but at 1-7, that team was locked in. Like, I go back and yes, that like obviously they were bummed out, and you're gonna be bummed out at 1-7. But I still remember Mike Gesicki saying, "We're so close, and people were killing him for it. Mm-hmm. And then a few weeks after, they started winning, and they went on this whole winning streak. So, you just can't make hyperbole comparisons like that. So rare, so quick for things that are so rare in the NFL world.
Great point, Neil. I know you're saying that you might die out on us with this computer of yours, this laptop. So I'm going to let you get your 2 cents in here before you take off. What do you think about Rick Spielman's comments? Do you think Dolphins can make that type of turnaround?
I mean, I do tend to agree with Juan that when you make hyperbole comments like that, it's a bit dangerous and at times unrealistic. I think that this defense is going to regress a little bit, but I think this offense is going to take a step forward. I believe it'll be at least the 15th ranked offense in the league next year. But I mean, when I'm looking at the beginning of the season, I think I'm going to have to see those first 4 games to really get on that, because if we start 1-3, 2-4, I mean, it would be hard for me to be like, oh yeah, we're totally going to go to the Super Bowl this year. I mean, I want to believe Rick Spielman. I want to get hyped about it, but I think it's just more realistic to say we're going to improve. We're going to improve in areas that we need to improve in, and we should be able to meet our realistic goals. Is the Super Bowl a realistic goal for us? Year 1, new regime, new offensive pieces, new offensive mentality? Probably not, but that's okay. I mean, I would rather be shocked and excited and overjoyed that we made the Super Bowl year 1 versus expect it and then just be bummed when we don't, if that makes sense.
Great point. Mm-hmm. Great point. Brett, I know you got something to say about this. What are you thinking?
So it is a lot to ask to go to the Super Bowl in the first year of head coach term. It just doesn't happen outside of Gruden, but Gruden was an experienced coach before this, or before he took them to the Super Bowl, right? So the one thing I think we overlook is Mike McDaniel is a very experienced coach. He's been around a long time. He's been through adversity. A lot of people don't realize that he had a drinking issue. I think it was kicked off Atlanta at the time.
Yeah, he was in Atlanta at the time.
Yep, he's bounced around he's been around the league with the Shanahans and all them. So he's faced adversity, and he's been in the league a long time. And he's been around a lot of winning. He's been around a lot of winning coaches. He's been to the Super Bowl. I believe he went with – I know he went with the 49ers, obviously.
And with the Falcons.
And the Falcons, yeah. That's what I was going to say. I believe he's still on the roster when the Falcons went. So it's a lot to ask for him to make the Super Bowl. I don't think it's a lot to ask for him to win playoff games. But when you talk about a rise like that, we're not talking about like necessarily just going to the Super Bowl. It's just taking this team last year, and you see the way they struggled to win. Like they won 1-7, and then they climb out and go 7-1. It was kind of like a roller coaster ride, right? That was frustrating and exhausting, but fun at the same time. But you want to see a team that like comes in, they might lose a game or two, and then they're going to like go on win streaks. And teams like the Steelers, the Chiefs, those good teams that do that all the time. The Rams, sure you're going to hit a hiccup, but then you're going to win. You know they're going to bounce back. That's what you want to see from him. You don't want to see going to Buffalo and it's a loss. You don't want to see going to Tennessee and it's a loss. You want to see like even in a loss, you were competitive. You showed that you belonged on the field with them, not like you're a pretender. So that's the kind of rise I think Spielman's talking about. I don't think he's necessarily talking about going to the Super Bowl, but I think he's talking about being a different team, like the Titans were. Like it was Vrabel's second year or third year?
Yeah.
Second year, I think. Like just that all of a sudden night and day team. That's the kind of rise. And all of a sudden being a competitor, all of a sudden like, we have a problem. Like the Dolphins are legit, they're a problem. I think that's what he's seeing. He's absolutely right. The defense is the same. So if they can maintain success from last year alone, they're already in good shape. If they could just get just a little bit better, they can be even better. Get the run game going, and all of a sudden this team is winning games that they couldn't win last year, or they're blowing out teams last year that they struggled to beat. Go against good teams. Go against Buffalo. Show that you belong on the same field as them. Sneak a win out. Beat Baltimore. Go toe-to-toe with them. Go toe-to-toe with these big dogs other than just New England. So I think that's what he's expecting, and I can see that with the formula that they have, the weapons that they have, and it's just up to one player right now. Not the whole season, not everything, but it's up to Tua playing the best he could play because it all comes down to quarterback. So if he can play the best he could play and play well, yeah, they can have that kind of rise. But Joe Burrow was a big reason for that rise. Defense
Absolutely.
is good run game, good weapons. Miami has a good defense. They can have a good run game. I think they have the formula too. And they have good weapons. So the difference is the quarterback. Can the quarterback play at that level? We'll see.
Yeah, that's great points, and I will leave it at that. And then
Also,
course,
he drafted Bridgewater, so you know he's rooting for him.
Yeah, there it is. There it was, right there.
It was low-hanging fruit. I had
You just had to go there, didn't you?
No, Brett, but I think you make a really good point because if they are competitive and they do have this rise, it is going to be up to one player because at the end of these games, it's usually against high-level competition. It's going to be a close game, and it's going to come down to a few plays. You either make them or you don't. Now that we're with the Bengals and the Titans, you saw them last year. It comes down to both quarterbacks are going to have their stretches when they're off. You saw Joe Burrow couldn't get it going. He was getting sacked through hell. You saw Tannehill getting stuck at the end. But when push came to shove and when the fourth quarter came, those drives started building up for Burrow. And then you saw Tannehill had the chance. They had two chances. The time where on 3rd and 1, dude, you have Derrick Henry right there. It's 3rd and 1. You saw what happened to the Seahawks in 2014. Just run it. Tannehill tries to get fancy with it. Then they throw, and it's intercepted. And you saw then Tannehill talk about it recently. It's like it haunted him because, it comes down to – and players know. Players know when you folded in those big moments plenty of times. That's why I was eating at Tannehill alive. And, we're going to see how Tua does. In close games, he's been sometimes inconsistent. Sometimes he pulls through. Sometimes he Sometimes he doesn't. More positives than negatives, but a lot of times against tougher competition, especially Buffalo, we just go in and get absolutely destroyed.
Right.
And maybe I want to come back later on in the season and say it was Brian Flores that couldn't figure out Buffalo. It wasn't because. And not come back and say, hey, like, new coach, and the quarterback's still not enough firepower, even with the weapons that they gave.
All right, great points all around. I want to get to John's comment there, question. I don't want to miss out on him. But John Santos writes to us, and before we move on to our next topic, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and comment below what's your guys' thoughts on our topics right now. We'd love to hear from you. John writes, out of all the available candidates, I'm assuming coaches, guys, who did you guys want? Well, for me, available coaches to us, I mean, my who I wanted, but they never interviewed. Of course, you talk about Jim Harbaugh, but who I wanted was Doug Peterson. That's who I was interested in because he was the available coach, but we never spoke to him, supposedly. Now, the one we did speak with, I wanted a veteran head coach. So for me, if you're talking about coaches that were available, the one I wanted, who was number one out of the coaches we actually spoke to, that was Dan Quinn. Brett, who did you want?
I'd say I like Dan Quinn and all, but I wanted so ones that we've talked to, I liked McDaniel a lot. But I wanted Jim Harbaugh as a Jim Harbaugh guy. I really think would have brought him in, would have been physical defense, physical offense. Lo and behold, we bring in McDaniel, who is similar. He wants to run the football and be explosive, and I'm all good with that. There was actually two candidates I wanted that Miami didn't even talk about, but I was just mentioning. One is Harold Goodwin from the Buccaneers. He's the guy that doesn't get enough credit. Byron Leftwich gets a lot of the credit over there in Tampa Bay, but I think Harold Goodwin's a really good coach. He's been a really good offensive mind for years. He was with the Steelers. He likes that smash mouth kind of football. So, and he runs a little bit of a zone, and he actually was a part of that Roethlisberger spreading the offense out a little bit. So I would have liked to have seen that, although he wasn't really a candidate. I would have loved to have him just because he fits that physicality that I was looking for, like Jim Harbaugh. But
what do you think?
Sean Payton, obviously, but that didn't happen.
Juan, out of the coaches that Miami did speak with, interview with, who was the one that you wanted, or you were interested in?
Yeah, so I mean, I have the receipts for it. If people wanna say that I'm just saying this to say, but I was actually on McDaniel from day one. McDaniel was my guy. A lot of people wanted Brian Dable at that time because of the connection with Tua. And yeah, no, you guys. My second option was Jim Harbaugh, but obviously he's a proven one. But I got deep into analyzing the way McDaniel worked, his history, and the way he just worked with Shanahan. And it just felt like this whole time, the Shanahan tree, you have LaFleur, you have McVay, now you have McDaniel. And it feels like, McVay, you have the guy from, you have him. And then, it feels like with McVay and LaFleur, they were really successful right on. And they created, Rodgers already had success, but McVay, really, the way he turned around the Rams, it was very, very impressive. So when it came around to McDaniel, I just thought, Shanahan, he's been Shanahan's right-hand man this whole time. And it seems like Shanahan is not letting him go up until he is absolutely ready to take on the new challenge and going to a place where he can be successful. So I started looking at that, and I started looking at the way the 49ers ran the offense. And I'm like, you know what? With the way the 49ers run the offense, who's to say, that's when the comparisons with Watson and Tua were really, really hot at that time. But we don't need Tua to be Watson if Tua can run this system and be Jimmy G. Then we don't have to go all in on a quarterback. So I said this is the system that fits Miami the most, the way it's currently built. I know some people wanted to go for a quarterback after that, but for the way it's currently built, I think it's better to take a chance like this. The Rams took a chance with McVay. It turned out great. And he was younger than McDaniel when he took over. LaFleur went to Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people said Aaron Rodgers is not going to work with a coach so young. It's going to clash really hard. they worked out really well.
Oh, and the run game got even better. Aaron Jones had his first 1,000-yard season under LaFleur.
Yeah, and it opened the game for Rodgers so much more. It really unlocked that offense as a whole. I mean, what was it? 3 straight playoff appearances, back-to-back NFC championships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when it came time for McDaniel, I looked around. I looked at the system. I know it's Mike Shanahan's original system, then Kyle, but McDaniel put a lot of layers into it, and Baldy, he did a lot of breakdowns for the way McDaniel conducts his run game and the layers he's added to it, and he created like a lot of content from 2019 when the 49ers went on their Super Bowl run. And I started analyzing it, and I'm like, you know what? If we could get a tackle, which was the focus we all thought, and it ended up being for the offseason, if we can get a tackle, like this could be game changing. It takes pressure off Tua. We are able to keep Josh Allens of the world on the sideline, and we can start putting more pressure on these teams. So far, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I've backed up a little bit out of the McDaniel fever that was going around back in January, just because it seems like everyone is so bought in now that I'm like, okay, let's
take a step back.
Let's settle down.
So
take it easy.
I do, and I will vouch. Juan was a big McDaniel guy long before, like, he was hired. I was a fan of McDaniel when we interviewed him. We wanted to interview him for OC, but Shanahan shut that down. I was one of 3 coaches that Flores could not bring in for offensive coordinator. Just so you know.
And the rest is history.
And we got him anyway.
So for me, out of the coaches we interviewed, I wanted that veteran coach who could put a good staff together, which we know Dan Quinn did in Atlanta. He had Mike McDaniel, but he had the Shanahan and all that whatnot. But of course, as I did more research on McDaniel, as I got closer and it became obvious him and Kellen Moore. I did, I was starting to get close to that. I did my research, and I just love, the history and what you said, what he went through as well with the drinking and, how he overcame that and everything. So I appreciated that. And that's when I started saying, I'm comfortable with him, because I think obviously when players speak highly of him and peers, especially after his struggles, that's somebody you would like to have on your side of the football. So let's move on here. And now we got 2 fun topics. And Juan, I'm glad you're here to go with this, because I know Brett's probably going to piss some people off when we get to that point. But look, first off, let's go off with this. The Dolphins have officially only retired, which I was a little surprised when I read this up, but they've officially only retired 3 jerseys. Dan Marino, obviously, Larry Zonka, number 39, Marino's 13, and of course number 12 for Bob Greasy. So I was, we've talked in the past about retired jerseys, and because people were like, why is Sonny Michel wearing number 34? That jersey should be retired. Hank on Fin's Talk today, no way. Yeah, that was his take. So I wanted to ask you guys, and Brett, we'll start with you, and then Juan, you'll follow up. I'll give mine first there, but I'll let you, and then I'll finish up after Brett. So out of those 3 guys, so give me 3. Only 3, and there's a lot that you could retire, but 3 past players that you would retire their jersey right now if you had control, and then give me 1 current player on this roster that you predict will have their jersey retired if you had the choice in the future.
Oh, wow. Wow. So 3 players, and this is probably
3 players of the past.
You know what? I think there's 2 obvious ones. I'm not a retired number kind of guy because you start running out of numbers, but let's just play the game right.
That's right.
All
don't
defense.
Ruin it. Don't
all we're going to be defense. 95, 99, and 54.
Ooh.
And in my head, I'm like, man, I feel like 29 should be in there because Sam Madison should be in there because he was so elite with Miami. But
I got a controversial one.
Zach Thompson's Hall of Fame. Right? Yep. No matter what anybody says, he's Hall of Fame worthy. Jason Taylor is in the Hall of Fame, and Tim Bones is the greatest defensive lineman we've had. A lot of people don't know who he is. Then we get to watch him. A lot of people, you'll hear the Jason Taylor and the Zach Thomas talk, but Tim Bones is in the middle of that defense doing the dirty work.
Man.
Tim Bones is such a stud, man. Showed up every game. and he was such a beast. But for me, those were guys in my lifetime I got to watch, and when I really understood football, and we had a smash mouth defense, those three guys like really stood out to me that I would retire the numbers.
Love it. When you go, so Tim Bowens, defensive tackle, linebacker, Zach Thomas, 54, and then 99, of course, Jason Taylor. Now, one current player that you could predict if they were to retire a jersey, this would be the one guy on our roster currently they retire. All right, you're going with Tua?
So, let's ignore one that probably everybody will go after, right? Xavier Howard. Right?
Okay.
That's probably the easy one. So I'm going to ignore him, right?
Okay. All right,
a little
fair.
easier. I'm going to go Javon Holland.
Ooh.
I just think he's that dude. I think he loves football. He's energetic. He's fun. He's a leader. He's that kind of guy that just sticks around for a long time and makes plays and doesn't complain. Hey, we need you playing corner this week. All right, I'll do it. We need you playing strong safety this week. We need you to play the box more. We need you to play nickel. It doesn't matter to him. He's going to be on the field. Like, you move him around. I love Holland, and I think Holland can have that kind of career. That's how high I am on that kid.
Very interesting. Evan writes Xavier Howard, and then he put Tyreek Hill for current players. John puts Jalen Waddle. Grandma's watching. Hey, Grandma. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Grandma. I love you. All right, Juan. Hopefully Brett didn't spoil anything for you. He kind of spoiled a little bit for me. But I'm okay. I'm not afraid. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. But for you, 3 retired past players of the Dolphins that you would retire their jersey right now if you had the choice, and then give me one current player.
No, yeah. So I think John here, he made a really good point by saying anyone who makes the Hall of Fame should automatically be retired, which I completely agree with. And Jason Taylor, nobody should ever wear that 99 ever again. That's the one I feel the most strongly about. Taylor. Zach Thomas, obviously. And then, for the third one, it's going to be a bit of a twist. I'm a huge Cam Wake fan, and I feel like if he played his entire career in Miami, he would have that jersey retired as well.
And I could absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. And then I would say, I'm going to go with Brett's rules that he put up for the current one, taking out X, taking out Tua, because obviously he will be too easy to pick for the Hall of Fame.
I try to make it difficult.
Holland. I should have went first.
Holland is actually a great pick, and I've talked about it on the timeline, kind of joking around. It's like, who knows? Maybe the next I'd read, but he has the mentality, and he really loves football. Javon Holland, not safety, football player. He like Brett said, anyone on the field. But for me, the current player would honestly be Jalen Phillips.
Wow, yeah.
15, man. I don't know if you guys saw that video that Omar posted where he just completely murders that machine and turns it on its head. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I went to camp a couple times last year, and Jalen is like, you're excited for the rookies, but he wasn't that. He wasn't moving around like that. He wasn't moving things around.
It was up here.
Yeah.
So, he was still mentally figuring it out. And Vincent and I talked about once that kid figures it out, sky's the limit.
Monster, dude. Monster. And I'm just like, TJ Watt, like, I know I said no hyperbole comparisons, but I just think the ceiling is pretty high for him. And he had a stretch last year where he actually got hot, and I'm like, I don't know how many sacks he ended up getting officially, but I ended up thinking, I'm like, is he going to get to 10 sacks? Because he went on a little run where he was getting
7.5. Right?
Yeah, so I remember at one point he got like a sack like 3 games in a row, and I'm like, is this kid going to go for 10? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Again, I should have went first because you guys stole all of it. All right, well, first off, I'm just to say Evan says Mark Clayton former and Christian Wilkins current. That's his picks, and those are – I like him. I think that's – and especially –
Ring of Honor, so, yeah.
For sure. So 85, John Santos. So for me, honestly, the 3 jerseys I chose, I mean, you're right with Juan, is Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, and I had to go with Cameron Wake. I mean, for what he did coming from the CFL to make that type of impact. I mean, and just, I went back to look at his numbers. I mean, my
Insane.
goodness. It's just ridiculous. Second in sacks in franchise history. I mean, he didn't have a very long career if you really look at it. With Miami, 98 total sacks with the Dolphins. That's second in history, I guess, behind Jason Taylor. Leader in sacks 131, and then which tells you how great Taylor was. But 98 for Cameron Wake, and then second in forced fumbles with 22. Went to the Pro Bowl in 2010, 2012, 2013, 14, and 16. 2012 All-Pro selection. 2010 league leader in sacks. In tackles for loss. That was 21. Only 146 career games. 360 total tackles, 97 tackles for loss, 98 sacks in his career with Miami. I mean, so I got to go with Cameron Wake. Obviously, Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas are the obvious picks, right? But and I mean, I have their numbers here too, but we all know them. There's no argument needed to be made. But for me, and I love Tim Bowens, man. Tim Bowens, Sam Madison, Pat Surtain, Brock Marion. That defense was just beautiful.
So loaded.
That was my childhood defense, and I that's what made me love defense growing up. I'm a defensive guy more than I'm an offensive guy, and it's that defense that did that for me.
Came after
but you know what? Cam Wake. You guys are. I have no argument whatsoever with Cam Wake on that one because he is such a beast.
Yeah, and then my current player I had was Xavier Howard. So I'm not going to say it here because I never know who's watching, but F both of you. But I'll just, just throw that out there. You get
Sorry, this is my fault. I started it. I figured it was too easy.
I'm going to take Xavier Howard. Whatever. But I'm saying, no, but you know what? I again, the easy one, right? I mean, 204 combined tackles, 27 interceptions.
Yeah.
4 for 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, finished 2020 as the third place defensive player of the year, and he signed long-term. It's just obvious, right? And I get that point. Now, when you brought up Javon Holland, I love that answer. And, he projected that last year. I mean, you saw the potential. But when you said Xavier Howard disqualified, I started thinking about current players and what was easy and what was hard. And, of course, you think of Tyreek Hill, the type of impact he could make in a short amount of time. That could be an answer. Jalen Waddle, that could be an answer, especially with the type of talent he has, whether it's Tua at quarterback or whoever comes after. But you know what? And the reason why I put my paper on my face is right away they started clicking number 15. I said, man, Jalen Phillips, what he did last year in the second half of the season, because people started criticizing him. Some people started talking a little bit about bust, and I didn't like that. But then he turned around and 8.5 sacks. Thanks, John. 8.5 sacks.
Yeah, thank you for that, John.
And to turn that around, and then what you see the growth and what he and it's just the growth he's had in the offseason and what he's doing in those videos. Like Juan would say, we're gonna hype up Tua. Why are we not hyping up Jalen Phillips? So when he puts these videos, and then also what he's doing off the field and around the community. I mean, this guy seems like a long-term type player with Javon Holland. So for me, I mean, that was going to be my pick. And then Juan says Jalen Phillips, and like, son of a monkey butt, but that's cool. Evan also writes Abba if he plays this contract well. Abba has made a big thing. Of course, he plays number 91, so it kind of contradicts my point. But
actually,
he lives up to that number.
Hey,
he lives up to that number.
If Oakball balls out and say he has a crazy career, at least Dolphins Ring of Honor career, man, that you even have a stronger case for 91 because 91 has been on 2 really good players. So
but then who do you retire it for? Like imagine part of like because we think these Dolphins are going to be really successful. So
you're right.
The Cowboys don't retire numbers. So one thing what I like about the Cowboys is they kind of give you a number to honor you. So like their top wide receiver, they give them an 88. 91, even though 99 obviously is Jason Taylor, that would be like special. But maybe 91 becomes for a player, a veteran player, and you want to hype it, and he earns that number somehow. I don't know. Maybe that becomes the case.
I like that idea. That's my favorite idea because Michael Irvin gives his blessing for Des Bryant to wear 88, Lamb to wear 88. Des Bryant's really lenient about it, but I like that approach.
The Cowboys are good at it though because it's such a risky move. I think they gave it to this kid. I forgot his name.
They gave it to Dez and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb. They gave him 88, and they blessed
And
him
it's worked out.
right on. And I remember at first people were freaking out about it. How are you gonna
Yeah.
give the 88? And he's been balling out with it. But if let's say if the Dolphins try to take that approach, they haven't made it public, but let's say how 34 has been used, and it's just how shameful, because that was Ricky's number, and now 34, people will say it's cursed. People was like, because everybody who's worn 34 after that
has been bad.
It's been really bad, whether it's injury, performance, it just doesn't end well, and it just seems like it's the end of that player's career as it was. They never seem to recover. To recover.
So Sony Michel is trash. We should not depend on him whatsoever.
I'm old enough to remember when Travis Minor wore 34, and then we traded for Ricky. Travis Minor gave that number up and wore 28. I remember that. Our kick return specialist, a third down back specialist. I remember that because I had a calendar that was for that season, but it was already printed, and it was 34. My buddy's like, "Man, Ricky looks tiny." I was like, "That's because that's Travis Minor, dude. That's
Travis
not
Minor,
Ricky."
Man, you brought me back. Travis Minor, Lamar Smith. I'm trying to think of all those running backs.
I used to crush it in Madden with Travis Minor on kickoffs and kick returns.
Hey, let's talk about crushing it. So first off, I have to ask you guys: do you play fantasy football? Do you partake?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so you okay? That's where we're gonna go, and this is where we're gonna. This is our last topic of the night. Again, if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button, and if you haven't had a chance yet, tell us what you think in the comments, whether live or even after the show, to let us know what you think is which jersey should be retired. And you're going to cause trouble. And then fantasy. What do you think about fantasy? And here we go. This is what we're talking about, fantasy football. I love playing fantasy football. It's really it's kind of like it's like a science you have to perfect. You got to see who the quarterback is. You got to see who the receivers are. You got to see who their coaches. And then you got to look at how the season plays out. So let's do this. So Juan, I'm going to start with you, Brett, and I'll finish it off. Juan, which 3 Miami Dolphin players on our roster? This 3 and 3, okay? Right now, which 3 players are safe bets to draft in fantasy football to give to be successful? Then give me another 3 that are bust material.
Bust material and then upside material. So I think the biggest upside right now, I would say, it's Tua. He's going to be the one handling the ball, and nobody knows what the offense is going to look like. But the stock on Tua, even though it's been really hyped up in the Dolphins world, outside of here, it's still in the bottom. And the more it gets hyped up with Tyreek, I feel like a lot of people are just like selling their stock because of the things we spoke about earlier, right? So I think Tua, you're getting a really good bang for your buck there. He's not gonna be your QB1 at the end of the league, but he could easily be in the top 10 as far as points go. He could give you a solid 15 to 20 per game, which
safe bet Tua.
Yeah, very. Another one I like, obviously, Tyreek. Brett, you made a really good point earlier about how the Dolphins were gonna try to build around Tyreek instead of building around Tua. So this offense is gonna be Tyreek centric. Tyreek's gonna get the ball in the backfield. Tyreek's gonna get the ball in the slant. Tyreek's gonna get the ball going deep. This is a guy who got 159 targets last year and said that wasn't enough. He said, "Give me the ball. I'm not part of the offense. You're leaving me out of the offense. I want the ball." Obviously, he talked to McDaniel about that. He talked to the Dolphins about that, how he wants to be involved. This is a guy who wants 15 targets per game, easily. And I'm not even exaggerating. This is a guy who averages about 10 to 12 targets per game, and he's saying that's not enough. So he wants 15 plus. You're looking at that 15 catches. Let's say for in the 5 to 10 yard range. You're not asking for much. You're already a PPG monster, right? And then the other one will be Jalen Waddle, but I think Jalen Waddle's value is really, really over the top now, just because people are saying Tyreek Hill is the obvious pick, so he won't be the number one, and Jalen's gonna get a lot of the production because defenses are gonna be focused on Tyreek. I'm gonna kind of flip the script a little bit. A really good pickup. People sleep on defenses. The Dolphins defense last year, I know it was a mess, but the year before in 2020, I actually picked it up because I was hyped about the pickups they did, and they held up really well. They've lost a lot of stock recently with no Brian Flores, McDaniel, rookie head coach. As far as the NFL world, it's lost a lot of stock value. You know, they might take a step back, but I think that you could find some good value there, especially as a waiver pickup later on.
Awesome. What do you got? So bust material.
Well, for bust material, I'm gonna give you some of the same players. I think Jalen Waddle has the biggest bust material, just because of the fact I'm not like we all know Jalen's super talented and all that, but I don't know how many of those are gonna be Tyreek getting 5 to 10 catches across the middle in the midfield. That's where he wants to say he wants to play in the midfield, and you don't know if Jalen's gonna go for 1 or 2 deep bombs, and then he goes for one deep bomb for, let's say, 50, and that's the catch he makes for the day, and that'll give you what the 50 yards is 5 points, and the catch you get 6 points right there. So Jalen Waddle, I think, becomes a little bit more of the wild card, and he could be really inconsistent. He could come in the game, he could give you 35, but he could come another game and just be completely out of the picture just with a couple points. The next one, some people are betting on Cedric Wilson or Mike Gesicki. I'm giving you 2 and 3 at the same time. With them, I think Mike Gesicki has some good upside, but I don't think he will be the tight end that many people think he will be. People think that Hill's going to go for 1,000, Waddle's going to go for 1,000, Gesicki's going to go for 1,000.
Right.
We're at 3,000, and you're not even taking up the backs and the rest of the receivers. So I think Gesicki is gonna have his influence, but I think he's also gonna be really inconsistent. I think the most consistent piece in that offense is gonna be Tua because he's handling the ball, and Hill because he's gonna be the focal point. So everybody else is gonna be, they can give you points. Like Gesicki can come in and give you 20, but I don't think he can come in and give you that consistently. And yeah, finally, I would give you Cedric Wilson, man. With Cedric Wilson, he could find a lot of production, but even now, it's really hard to tell. We haven't seen a single snap of this offense, not even in camp, because all the cameras are zoomed in. All we've seen is the football spiraling in the air. So we don't know what any of this is going to look like. But with how packed this is, I wouldn't put too much stock in drafting Cedric Wilson. If anything, I would just pick him up a waiver if one of my guys got injured or was on a bye week, really.
Awesome. All right, Brett, what are your 3 safe bets and then your 3 bust material in fantasy football? Now, this is fantasy football, guys. This is not the season we're talking about. Fantasy football. There's a little science that with points and everything else. So I just want to clarify. I don't want people thinking you're going on an attack where I think you're headed here. So let's start off with who your safe bets are.
So the safe bets, and actually, I like Juan's idea with Tua, but I'll come back to Tua. And I think it's more of the coaching and style of offense they're going to run, which is why I don't know that Tua will be much of a fantasy quarterback. I don't know how they're going to use him yet. I think he can be a decent fill-in quarterback. The way I imagine their offense is going to be a lot more run heavy. Although everything counts, right? If he pitches the ball, which might be a lot. So
yeah, in the backfield, Jimmy used to get a lot of points off that, and I know Patrick. Yeah. I know Patrick. He gets, but he used to get a lot of points off just like pitching at Eric literally right there, and Eric just goes crazy.
I won't put Tua as a safe bet, but definitely to keep an eye on because of the offense. I'm going to say Waddle because he's Tua's security blanket, and Gesicki because he's Tua's security blanket for PPR leagues mainly. If you need a guy in your flex spot, I think those 2 guys will do really well. I think those 2 guys are also going to be like high volume guys. So maybe not the yards, but they're going to get the targets. And I think Gesicki will probably get the touchdowns. And Waddle, Hill, I think is safe because they're going to manufacture him touches. Running the ball, catching the ball. He's going to get pitches. He's going to get reverses. He's going to get the ball, and he's going to do some punt returns too. So that will vary in your league and how you get points. I know some leagues are very stringent. If your receiver catches the ball, it doesn't get that rushing yards. But excuse me, I still think Hill is going to be a safe bet, as safe as you can be, especially recently. Bust, though, I'm actually going to put the defense in bust. And the only reason I put the defense in bust potential. I think Miami's defense would be good, but I agree with Juan. Definitely maybe more of a waiver than a draft or a late draft and stash. But their defense is giving up rushing yards. More and more, I've noticed leagues have kind of gone towards the yards count against you more than ever now, less than a score. So Russian defense hasn't been great. And until proven otherwise, you have to be careful. And some of the quarterbacks we have to face and stuff, I think we have some bad matchups this year as far as defense goes in fantasy. So as much as I've hyped up this defense for fantasy football, I have some concerns with their defense. Although I think they'll get sacks and turnovers, I have a little bit of concerns. I think they could be a bust. So I think I will put Waddle also as bust potential because sophomore slumps happen, new system. Not that he can't learn it. I think he'll fit in the system, but he's in a share with all these other receivers now. So, and then the third and final bust potential is all of our running backs. Like, don't touch the running backs in this system.
Bust guaranteed.
Right. So don't touch these running backs. If you need one, if you're like in a pinch for bye weeks, injuries, whatever, and hey, look, Miami's got a favorable matchup. Yeah. It like for a week, whatever, for a fill-in, sure, but I wouldn't rely on Miami's any of these Shanahan systems unless they have a bell cow. That's how I look at it.
All right. So let me go ahead and put this up here. So here are my fantasy safe bets for the Dolphins. So head here. So first off, number one, I don't care what Brett says. I got Miami's defense. I got a Miami defense, and reason why actually I had Miami's defense last year, and even though they struggled the first half of the season, it's the second half they really did me a lot of favors. And I'm thinking a lot of turnovers. I'm thinking fumbles, interceptions, and points. I think Miami's defense is probably the safest bet for fantasy football. And I got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle as my number 2 and number 3. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Why? Not just receptions, and it's the rushing running backs. They're going to be running the football as well. They're going to be very involved in the offense. Maybe Tyreek Hill more than Jalen in terms of that as a decoy and everything. But Jalen Waddle I have as my number 3 because he's a benefit from having Tyreek Hill on the field. Defense are going to focus on Tyreek Hill, just like they're going to probably, when they focus on, or they're going to give Gesicki some open field as well. So even though I got Tyreek there because it's Tyreek Hill and he's going to get those type of plays, and he's not just going to be involved in the passing game, but also in the running game, Jalen as well. But Jalen's going to benefit a lot from Tyreek Hill. I think those 3, 1, 2, and 3 defense, Tyreek Hill and Jalen, they're going to get you some points week to week. In my opinion. Now, and Brett screwed me on this because I thought he was going to be with me on this, but my bust material, and again, this is fantasy football, so don't get sensitive, people. Number 1 is Tua. Why? Everybody's talking about they're talking about the passing game, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Gesicki, Cedric Wilson, but this is going to be a running type offense. And again, I got to count how many touchdowns during that game, and is he even going to finish the game or start a game if he gets hurt? That counts. I had Tua 1 year because I was getting hyped up on it, and he hurt me a little bit. So I consider him bust potential. Did you say something, Juan? I'm sorry.
No, just saying you just brought up injuries, and that's trigger word for some people.
The other one is Mike Gesicki, another player. I actually had him last year, and this is the thing. Yes, I actually think he might benefit. He's going to benefit from these 2 guys, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and might have the most touchdowns, which is going to help with fantasy. But he's another one that a lot of people have a lot of hype for, and which they've had in the past, and he's disappointed. And you got to think about the other tight ends that we have on the roster that are on the field sharing that load with him. He might end up being a decoy as well. And then number 3, I'm with you guys 100%. Any of the running backs. I don't think any of the running backs have any potential in fantasy football because I think a lot of the running is going to be so mixed up between the receivers and, Raheem and Chase Edmonds and Sony Michel and those other guys. So I don't think any of them are going to have enough points through week to week to justify drafting them at all. If you need a running back because you didn't draft one, maybe I guess you could be desperate enough to sign one, but I wouldn't. I'd go after maybe one of the other receivers that Miami has if you don't touch, maybe the rookie. But yeah, so my bust potential is Tua, Mike Gesicki, and any of the running backs, and then Miami's defense is number 1, Tyreek 2, and Jalen number 3, guys.
We forgot one.
Can I add? Yeah, can I add something real quick?
Yes.
There is one key player. Hopefully, I'm not stealing Brett's idea.
No, I love it if you do.
There's one player that we forgot to mention. We mentioned everybody except a big body receiver, which could become, a factor. I'm not saying draft this guy, but definitely look out for him in the waivers, and that's Eric Ezukanma. Eric Ezukanma, I feel like he has some potential. And if you have a guy that goes on IR early and you're not going to drop him because he's either your first rounder or a guy that could pull for you late in the season.
That was on my mind when I said if you can't get one, go after one of our receivers, probably as a waiver wire. That was him.
And he literally put a light bulb. And I'm like, yeah, Ezukanma, because you never know. And as a waiver wire, this is a very good value pickup. It might not end up being, but it might end up being really good value.
I keep forgetting about him. Who I was going to mention is Jason Sanders.
Ooh,
he had a slow year last year, but sometimes kickers can come through in a pinch. And in 2020, Jason Sanders is actually a pretty damn good fantasy kicker.
He was carrying, bro.
Yeah.
He carried my team a couple weeks in a row because there was a couple weeks where I had like 20 points from him. That put me over the top.
Some receivers, man.
Hey, you know what? Evan here, and I wasn't looking at the comments before, guys, so I apologize. I will review them at the end after the show. But Evan had a good one here, and I like this. Evan says, we need to have a Fins Talk Network Fantasy League. That might be an interesting thing we should look into. That would be fun. Yeah, I think I'm down for that. Hank for commissioner. Maybe we'll set that up on Twitter. Message me and let me see who would be interested in that. But hey, guys, I think that was a lot of fun. Juan, thank you for joining us today. I know you had a lot. You wanted to talk about that Tyreek, and you stuck for the whole show. Neil, if you're still watching, I know his computer died, but thank you for coming on. Everyone, Evan, John.
And if you haven't, read Juan's article.
Yes,
all of his articles, not just this one, all of them.
Read the Tyreek one though. It's really a great one. I put a lot of effort into it. There's some personal connection to it.
He put his heart into it. He spoke from the heart.
But familiar. I can tell a familiar situation when I see it. So yeah.
Yeah. So I was on this date, and this girl kept talking about the ex-boyfriend, and it's like, damn, Juan. I get it.
Hey, Bobby, link the article on our video.
I will. Once I get off here, I'll go ahead and get his article and link it on here for you, John. If you don't, check out the Fin Fanatic. Go on that website and read his material. It's amazing. It's great. And as always, guys, if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on the Fins Talk Network. We got great content, Miami Dolphins content. You got Fins Talk today on Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. If you're driving in the car to go spend time with family, want to hear some Dolphins talk, go follow us there. And of course, Mondays at 7:30 Eastern time, it's me, Brett, and company, like Juan or Neil or whoever joins us that time. Evan next week will be joining us on Overtime. Make sure you guys like and subscribe so you can tune in. You have a Tua stan. You got a Tua hater. One-on-one for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Yeah. Oh, God. And hopefully Tua doesn't show up. And then it'll be interesting stuff. Yeah. And so we'll have that next week on Overtime. Do not forget to miss that. And then Wednesday, brand new show. We're not just Dolphins content. We got Heat content. The Goon Squad. You got Juan. Yes, he writes for the Dolphins, but he's diehard Heat, just as I'm going to be there as well. I'm the host. You got Juan. You got Neil. Alex Atia Chiska is coming back. I don't know about Harrison. I'll check with him. But if you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it. It was a lot of fun.
I like the arguments, man.
That's the thing right there. That's what I like about it. First off, that's what we do with everything. You know, we're all friends here. There's no hurt feelings. We go at each other, but especially on the Goon Squad, I mean, they were going at it. It was a lot of fun, and it's not going to stop because I mean, you're talking. Do the Heat trade for Mitchell? Do they? Omir, as Alex would say, Juan, is Omir the second coming at the power forward position?
No, we got to.
I'm going to hit that sensitive for
that. Body mass and muscle are a thing, and they're very important. Very, very important.
And I will say this: look, as just a preview, we're talking Kyrie Irving. What Bill Simmons brought up on the podcast. What Brian Windhorst, he said Miami and Kyrie Irving. We're going to talk about what Brian Windhorst said about Pat Riley. There's so much to talk about. So the Goon Squad on Wednesday night. That's the second episode with Juan, myself, Alex, Harrison, and Neil. Brett's always invited, even though he's a 76ers fan. We'd love to have him on because I know
I'm all about joining that one when we talk 76ers. You can't have Embiid. Embiid's all we got since AI.
That's what Harrison was saying. Harrison wants Embiid. Harrison, like, get us Embiid. All right, I'm with you.
You can't have him.
Anything that gets Tyler Hero out of Miami.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but John Santos writes, Juan, drop your Twitter account. It's third.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Third and Juan, 3RD and Juan, and I'm there. I pretty much write almost every day with whatever's going on. But yeah, if you like Dolphins content that it's not all the way negative, all the way positive, but really from someone that calls it as they see it, with really no filter and no feelings involved, then go ahead and give me a follow and check it out and interact, man. If you agree, disagree, I'm always down for the debate. That's what
awesome.
makes the
very
internet
cool. Love it. So yeah, follow Third and Juan. What's up, Steve? Man, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you always, brother. John, Evan, everybody.
Thank you.
Brett Legacy 67 on his Twitter, and of course Bobby Finstock. Hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out on the Finstock Network on the Twitter page. Follow Juan, read his articles, and we will see you guys on Wednesday for the Goon Squad. Fins up.
Yes.